Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing my iron deficiency journey. It has been a long journey over the past 3 years, and I'm going to give you an overview of all of it, the things that I have done that have not helped, the things that I have done that maybe helped a little bit, and the other things that I've done that have helped more. But before we get started, I want to talk to you about the sponsor of the video today. I am a huge advocate of taking our health into our own hands, and one really amazing tool that we have now is checking our own biomarkers by ordering our own blood labs. In the past, I've had to jump through hoops, making doctor's appointments to try to convince my doctor to give me certain tests, just to have to wait weeks and weeks in order to get another appointment just for the doctor to read those tests for me. Now with the ability to purchase blood tests online, it really saves me a lot of time and money. Today's video sponsor, LabCorp On Demand, is a fantastic resource for keeping an eye on all kinds of different health markers. They offer many individual tests like HSCRP, ferritin, HbA1c, and lots of different panels for different things you might want to keep an eye on, like cardiometabolic health, diabetes management, kidney health, and so many more. To purchase, just shop all the different tests on the LabCorp On Demand website, add what you want to your cart, and check out. Then you just need to choose a LabCorp patient service center near you where you can make an appointment for the sample collection. Testing is performed by LabCorp's CAP accredited, CLIA certified clinical laboratories that typically process 3 million samples every week. My appointment took less than 15 minutes and scheduling was super easy on the LabCorp website. Most of my results were ready for me to view within 24 hours. With the ability to purchase my own labs, I'm able to keep an eye on things that are important to me for my own health, and then if I see something that's out of range or concerning, I can bring those results to my doctor for more information. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the results I recently got from the LabCorp On Demand Anemia test panel. Assessing iron status in the body can be so much more complicated than just one test. So the anemia panel includes standard iron tests like total iron, ferritin, but it also includes things like vitamin B12 and folate, which are really important to monitor when dealing with iron issues. LabCorp On Demand has given me a 20% coupon code to share with all of you. Go to trylco.com/indigo to check out all the tests that they have to offer, and make sure you use the coupon code INDIGO at checkout to get that 20% off. Thanks again to LabCorp On Demand for sponsoring the video today. Now I'm going to go into an overview of my iron deficiency journey. If you have been following me for the past 3 years faithfully, you may know a lot of this. You may have followed it in real time with me, but I just want to do an overview of where I am now and how I got here, just to give like a one video answer when people ask me, how I'm doing with my iron, what has helped, all of that. So about 3 years ago now, I got some really concerning health test results. Another reason why monitoring your different markers is really, really important. You can find things that maybe you had turned a blind eye to. Like for me, I was having symptoms that I just kind of wrote off because I was like, oh, my diet is so healthy. I obviously am fine. And then as soon as I saw on paper these test results saying you are clearly not fine, I was like, yeah, you're right. I actually feel really terrible. And so it helped start me on the journey of getting these things taken care of. So I got some really concerning test results, and the main one was that my ferritin was at a level of 9. So very clearly deficient by all, calculations, because there's a difference between the standard conventional ranges for certain things and then what a functional doctor would consider optimal ranges. By all standards, I was deficient. So that put me on the journey to figure this out and figure out how to get my ferritin up. And in my mind, I had the idea that I needed to have a ferritin of 80 to 100, which a lot of functional doctors consider to be optimal in order to feel good and to have my symptoms go away. My symptoms that I primarily was dealing with were brain related, just lack of brain function. I like to describe it as, when you're reading out loud and you kind of look ahead a few words to get those in your mind while you're saying the previous words, I would lose my ability to do that. I would only be able to focus on the one thing at a time. It also manifested in not being able to carry on conversations very well, which in turn fueled like a social anxiety, which only makes sense when your brain is not working correctly and you don't feel like you can form thoughts well, and you don't feel like you can form a response while also listening to somebody else. It makes you feel self-conscious. So I don't know that the iron deficiency itself was causing anxiety, like a physiological response, but I do know that the brain issues that I was having were causing me to be insecure socially, which, is just kind of normal when you're having that kind of a problem. I didn't deal so much with like exhaustion, like I wanted to sleep all the time. That is something that people deal with iron deficiency. But what I found is that I was more brain tired, where it was like everything felt like moving through quicksand. Anything, even the smallest things throughout the day just felt insurmountable. My motivation for getting anything done just was like at a zero, and it just was so easy to find myself sitting and scrolling, something that was like brain numbing. Anything that I needed to use brain power on or, motivation to get done, I just didn't want to do it. I just felt like I couldn't muster up the motivation. My brain function issues also manifested in just the way that I spoke. And I found this to be extremely obvious because I am a YouTuber and I sit in front of a camera and try to speak full thoughts. I would find that I wouldn't be able to get out a full thought. And there would be times that even my speech would be slurred, like I couldn't speak correctly. And there was just some disconnect between my brain and what was coming out of my mouth. Of course, the first thing that I did was go to my doctor, and she got me set up with an iron infusion at the hospital. So she gave me the basic instructions to go get this iron infusion, then to focus on stomach acid, making sure my stomach acid was high enough so that I was actually breaking down my food, and especially meat, and getting absorbing the iron. She also encouraged me to focus on chewing my food, making sure I was chewing it enough. She was thinking that my low ferritin was probably related to lots of pregnancies and a history of heavier periods, and that getting the iron infusion plus just kind of enhancing iron absorption would be the thing that fixed the problem. My B12 and folate were also just a little bit low, so I started supplementing for those, and those actually came up really fast, so got that taken care of. That along with the focusing on the iron absorption, the stomach acid and stuff like that, also didn't fix my problem. What I found was after this iron infusion, within a month or 2 months, my levels started dropping super, super fast. Now, after an iron infusion, your ferritin level usually goes pretty high, like higher than the normal range, but that's normal after an iron infusion. And it does drop some back to kind of a normal level. I found that with mine, within a few months, it was dropping down lower than what I would want as a normal level. And it just didn't show any sign of stopping. It wouldn't even out at any point. So I went on a journey of getting more iron infusions. I was able to find a place, or my doctor recommended a place, where I could just go in and get smaller iron infusions a little more often. So I went on a journey for about a year after that, where I would go get an iron infusion to get topped off. And then I would do some kind of an intervention, whether it was supplementing with a certain kind of iron or other supplements that enhance iron absorption, just all these different things to try to see if I could maintain that level of ferritin that I would get from the bump of the small iron infusion. And what I found was not a single one of the things I tried fixed or helped me maintain that level of ferritin, no matter what I did. And I even did a 3 or 2 month period where I didn't take any supplements at all, because I was like, I want to see what my body does if I don't take anything. And it dropped by about 30 points. And that was the exact same amount it had been dropping every time, even with lots of iron supplements and even with lots of copper and zinc and all these different things. Just real quick, I'll read off a list of the different things that I did try during this time. I did several different kinds of iron supplements, including heme iron. I did the 3 arrows. I did multiple different doses, trying different strategies. I tried things like every other day iron supplementation, which is shown to be helpful for some people. I tried the vitamin C along with the iron. I tried lactoferrin. I tried liver supplements. I tried other organ supplements. I did L-lysine, which also is shown to help iron absorption. I also tried different dietary interventions during this time. Throughout the past 5 years or more, I have had a very high red meat diet, which is another reason why it was so confusing that my ferritin would be so low when I consume lots of iron on a regular basis. So those are a lot of the things that I was trying during this time. And again, I found zero help from especially any of the supplement interventions. They never did a thing to move the needle on my ferritin. It was like I could be taking 0 iron supplements or all the iron supplements and my results would be the same. My ferritin would drop by the same amount every month or 2 months. So then I went on the journey of gut health. And this is something that I am so incredibly glad that I did. And I went into it thinking this is going to be the thing that fixes my iron issue because I'm probably not absorbing iron well because my gut health is bad. And if I get that fixed, then I'll start absorbing iron again. So I went down the road of addressing SIBO. I have a gut health video that I did not too long ago that kind of goes into all of the details of what I did to heal my gut and to address SIBO. So I will link that up in the cards for more information on the subject. But basically, I went through a gut healing protocol, a SIBO eradicating protocol, and it took about 6 months. And it was life transformational for me. It was something I'm so glad that I did. It opened up my diet to be able to eat all kinds of food again, got rid of my food intolerances, all of that good stuff. It was absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, it did not fully fix my iron issues. So back in February 2024, I got another iron infusion because my ferritin had dropped back down to around the 20 range, which if you're looking at it from a functional standpoint, that is in iron deficiency. So I was back down to that 20 range. All of my symptoms were coming back. I was losing motivation. I was, just kind of brain fried. And so I went in and I got another iron infusion. I got multiple small ones in a row just to really top myself off. And another wrench thrown in here, this is why this can't be a short story, is that I started dealing with hyperthyroidism at the time. And I don't know for sure how long I had been dealing with hyperthyroidism. It kind of came to a head at that point where the symptoms were, kind of out of control. But I could have been dealing with lower level hyperthyroidism for a long time. And that also could have had an impact on my iron status as well. It's one of those things where it's just, I don't have all the answers. I just, have all of these facts and timeline that I can put in there and, we can draw our own conclusions from them. But I was dealing with hyperthyroidism and I ended up, taking a few months to get that under control. And again, at that point, I was thinking, well, maybe the hyperthyroidism was the underlying cause this whole time. Maybe I had been hyperthyroid for longer than I thought, and that was causing it. So once I get my hyperthyroidism under control, maybe, that'll fix my ferritin issues. And I found that after getting that infusion in February of 2023, and after getting my thyroid under control and functioning normally, which it is now. So after doing that, I found that my ferritin was still dropping, which was discouraging, but it did drop a lot slower than before. So it took about a full year for it to get back to, that 20 mark again. And that's a big improvement from, 3 months getting back to those really low levels. And so I was encouraged that we were making progress. And if I had to really guess at the things that moved the needle to that point, I think it would be getting the hyperthyroidism under control, healing my gut, and eradicating the SIBO. I think my body just functions better that way. Overall, it's going to affect all parts of the body. And then I do think that the copper and zinc supplements were helpful. Again, I don't have, exact proof or data. It's just that's what I feel. And I do continue to take some copper and zinc, moving forward, because I do think it's really important for iron utilization in the body, and that iron issues oftentimes don't get resolved with just adding more iron to the mix. There are a lot of other moving parts that are important to look at. So even though my ferritin was dropping slower than it had previously, it was still dropping, and every 2 or 3 months that I would go in and get it checked, it would be down another 20 points or something like that, which was super discouraging. And then come to about December of last year, my ferritin was again at that 20 mark, and I was really starting to feel the symptoms. I mean, they slowly were coming on, but by December, it was the holidays, we were busy, and I just was kind of flatlined with my motivation. And if you guys were following my channel during that time, you might have noticed that I was putting out maybe 1 or 2 videos a week, if that, when normally I'm able to get out 3 or 4. I just was having very little motivation and felt like I just couldn't get anything done. So I was really discouraged. And another reason I was discouraged is because I really felt like iron infusions were not something I could just continue to do. Because you might think, well, why don't you just go in and get an iron infusion every few months and, that'll be fine. It'll keep it up. The iron infusions have some negative side effects. Iron is toxic to the body in high amounts. And I just know in my sternum that pumping myself full of iron every few months is ultimately not going to bring me the health that I need. That was my own personal feeling. And beyond that, the massive drops in ferritin and in iron in my body caused really bad side effects. And it was cognitive as well. Just almost like PMS type symptoms. It was just really, really unpleasant and made me feel very unstable, which is definitely not a fun place to be. So I knew that, the iron infusions would keep my ferritin at a certain level. Yes, that is true. But I knew that that wouldn't make me feel my best. So I was pretty discouraged in December. And I've already told you guys this on my red light therapy video from a while back. So this might be a repeat for you guys. But I have to put it in here in my iron deficiency journey, because this has been the number one thing that has helped my symptoms. Now, I'm not going to make any claims about fixing my iron deficiency or red light therapy raised certain levels of different things. I can't say that. But what I can say is what effect it's had on my symptoms. And ultimately, I've had to really evaluate how important lab numbers are to me versus symptoms, because I was really, really fixated on getting that ferritin to that certain level. And in my mind, that was correlated with the reduction of symptoms and me feeling my best. But ultimately, we have to take the blood labs and the symptoms into account together. And so if you get, your blood labs, like the iron infusions would get my ferritin to a level that should be perfect, but I didn't feel good. I didn't feel great. My symptoms were still not pleasant. So anyways, in a roundabout way, I started doing red light therapy. I started doing it the day after Christmas, which is kind of fun. So it's kind of like 2025 is going to be my red light therapy year. I'm really excited to see where I'm at the end of 2025, like a full year of doing red light therapy. But anyways, I started doing red light therapy. I did not have my iron deficiency in mind. I know red light therapy is good for your skin and for your hair and all kinds of different things. I did not have in my mind the brain function and the iron deficiency symptoms that I was experiencing. But what I found within a week of starting the red light therapy is that my brain turned on. And all of those symptoms that I was dealing with from the iron deficiency essentially went away. My brain started firing again. I regained my ability to read and speak at the same time. My motivation came back. You might have noticed in January, starting in January and then February, I've been putting out a lot more videos. I've been more excited about sharing things. And that just makes sense. When your brain's working and you can actually communicate well, you're more excited about communicating. So I just started riding this roller coaster of brain function again, which was like night and day from how I had been for the last several years. So it was a really, really obvious change. And I will say that like after my first iron infusion, that was my biggest iron infusion, I got this like little glimmer of mental clarity, like maybe 2 to 4 weeks after I got that infusion. And I was like, and at that point I was like, oh, the iron infusion fixed me. Sadly, it didn't last, but I got that like little like glimpse of what it was like to have brain function again. And I can say now, like I chased that for like 3 years and never quite got back to that first high of that first iron infusion until I started red light therapy. And I feel like red light therapy has just given me the brain function, but it's not momentary, it's lasting. It's now a permanent state of brain function that I have. So as I'm going through this in the first, month or 2 months of doing red light therapy, I'm like, what is going on in my body? Am I going to go and get my iron labs done and find that my ferritin's up at 100? And I'd be like, oh, it's up at 100. And this is how I feel. I was really curious about, and I still don't fully understand what's going on in my body. I have like different ideas and theories and trying to piece things together from different people that I'm listening to. But I went and got blood labs done in February, and I found that my ferritin was still at 20. I think it was 22. And I was like, well, I feel really good with good brain function, and my ferritin is at a 22. And so I kind of had to divorce the idea that I had to have a ferritin of 80 to 100 in order to feel good, because I'm like, I feel good. Ferritin 22 it does not correlate. But then I also looked at my hemoglobin, which is an iron containing protein that carries oxygen to your body. So the low iron symptoms are low oxygen symptoms because iron carries oxygen to your body. And so I looked at this hemoglobin and I found that it was higher than I have ever seen it in my entire life of getting complete blood counts drawn. And even right after iron infusions, where you'd think all of my iron markers would be through the roof, my hemoglobin was never as high as it was in February. So my ferritin was still low, my hemoglobin higher than I'd ever seen it before. And I hadn't done like a full anemia panel at that point because I just wanted to test a couple little things. But then when I saw that, I was like, I need to look at more stuff. So in March, I ordered an anemia panel from LabCorp on demand and had that run. And I will put all of it up on the screen for you guys to check out. Iron is so complicated in the body, and I wish it was just something as simple, as when you check vitamin D and it's like, is it high or is it low? That's all you need to know. But with iron, there's so many different tests that you need to have in order to get an idea of what's going on. So what I found, my hemoglobin came down just a tiny bit from the previous test, which is a normal fluctuation. It was still higher though than I had ever seen it before in my entire life. And my ferritin had gone up by 10 points. It was up at 32. So that was really exciting. I hadn't seen my ferritin rise from anything other than an iron infusion this whole 30 years. So that was really encouraging to see it jump up. Now, do I know if it's going to continue to rise from doing red light therapy? I have no idea. Again, I feel so good and I feel like my iron deficiency symptoms are gone. So what does it matter if my ferritin is at 32 if I don't feel bad? But I do think it is so significant that my hemoglobin is higher. There's something happening that is getting more oxygen to my body. And that is the thing that is relieving the iron deficiency symptoms for me, I think. So if there are any experts in red light therapy out there and you want to explain this to me, I would absolutely love to hear like what is going on in my body. And I am open to the idea that the red light therapy is working in my body on some other level, and that maybe I still do have iron issues that I need to work on. And if I were to, figure out what I needed to do to get my ferritin up to that 80 to 100 level, maybe I'd feel even better. I don't know. I don't know if the red light therapy is, fixing the iron transport issues that I probably have. At this point, I don't think that my issues have to do with iron absorption. That is like the main path that a lot of people go down when they have iron deficiency issues. And obviously for good reason, because a lot of people do have absorption issues. And so with all of my testing that I did, trying to absorb iron better, I don't think that was my problem. I don't think it wasn't that I was absorbing iron. I think it was that there was some disconnect in the transport, getting the iron to where it needed to be in the body. And like my idea is maybe the red light therapy is working on some kind of mitochondrial level that is facilitating the iron transport. So the iron that I have been consuming, I'm actually using now. That's just my hypothesis. So I told you a whole bunch of things that I did for my iron that I don't think helped. I told you a few things that I did that I do think helped and were really good, but didn't ultimately take away my symptoms. And then the number one thing that I did that has affected my symptoms, I'm not going to say it healed me. I'm not going to say it completely took away any problem, but it has made me feel the best, is absolutely the red light therapy. So the red light therapy panel that I use is the Inferno panel from EMR Tech. I have gotten all of my results from using that somewhere between 15 and 25 minutes per day. And I've kind of been playing with what my optimal dose is going to be, how little I can get away with, if I can do it only every other day, or do I have to do it every day? I'm still kind of playing with that. I do have a video that's all about my red light routine. That was a few weeks ago, so I've been playing with it since then. But that gives you an idea of what I have done in the first couple of months that really gave me the results that I got after I had such an incredible experience with the Inferno panel from EMR Tech. I did sign up to be an affiliate with them. So they gave me a 20% off coupon code to share with you guys. You can always use it to get 20% off, but occasionally they bump it up to 30% off, kind of like flash sale times. And so depending on when you're listening to this, the coupon code may be 20%, it may be 30%, but I will put the info down below so you can check that out if you want to see if red light therapy is for you. They have bigger panels that are crazy huge, and then they also have smaller panels, and the one that I have I feel like is extremely high powered. And if I were to go back and start with a smaller panel, I imagine I would still get really good results, because just how incredibly focused the light is from the EMR Tech panels. They use a unique Cobb system that is unique from other red light panels on the market. So I feel like they're just really well made and really deliver a lot of light dose. So anyways, I think even the smaller panels are extremely effective, because I know the Inferno comes with a pretty big price tag. Although I do like to say I spent 3 years buying all kinds of supplements and having appointments and doing so many expensive things. I probably could have just bought that Inferno panel 5 times over with the amount that I spent on other things. And if I had known the results that I was going to get with it, I absolutely would have dished out the money way early on. But I do know that it is a pretty hefty price tag. But I do think the smaller versions are very, very effective as well. You just kind of have to play with whatever device you get and decide, what's going to give you the optimal results, where you have it placed on the body and how much time you spend in front of it, all of that kind of stuff. So check out the description below for all the info on EMR Tech, as well as the info on LabCorp On Demand. Thanks for hanging out with me for this very long video. I told you, I warned you, it's not a short story, but I do appreciate those of you that have stuck all the way to the end. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.